Hey everyone, people have been coming to me with a lot of questions. Why did you purchase this Roborock S8 Pro Ultra when you have this iRobot setup you've been using for a couple of years without issue? Should they also be upgrading? What should they be upgrading to? How much should they be willing to spend? Let's talk about that, because this right here was the top of the line when I bought it. It was the best technology that we had a couple of years ago, and it really worked great and works as good now as it did then. But even then, there were features that I just believed were missing that I found in the Roborock, and we're going to go into those specifically, those features that I really wanted to have, that I waited for years, that technology would finally allow us to have in this type of unit. And I'll tell you right now that this video is more catered to people who have an automated vacuum and mop solution, not just an automated vacuum, which I required at the time 2 pieces, which sort of complicated matters, because now we have to bring the Braava into the equation. And no doubt this thing isn't cheap. We're talking about $1,600 for the Roborock S8 Pro Ultra. Very expensive. Now, if we look at the Roomba i7 Plus, what we're seeing right now is $649, $650. When I bought it in November 29th of 2020, it was $599, and that was probably a Thanksgiving special. But now we got to add on the Braava Jet M6, which up until last week was $450 and now is $350. Add those two together and you're looking at dropping $1,000. This might seem cut and dry, $600 more than the other one, but there's more to it than this. The dock for the Roomba has full service for vacuuming just like the Roborock does. But for the mop, you're on your own. You got to replace the pads yourself, you got to fill the fluid yourself, and that pad's not going to clean itself in between sessions. You got what you got. If you're not looking for the mop cleaning functionality and want the same type of dock as the i7 Plus, you could get the S8 Plus instead of the S8 Pro Ultra for only $1,000. Now I want to show you Roomba's offerings from their website. They're selling the J7 Plus, which is their current new model, alone with the vacuum dock for $600, and that's apparently on sale from $800. But they're selling the J7 Plus bundled with the Braava M6, which is still the latest iteration of the Braava, for $900. But they're also selling this new vacuum cleaner mop combo of the J7 Plus, where the mop retracts, for the same value as the bundled one. So they're saying that the mop combo has the same value as the non-mop version and the Braava bundled together. I can't really figure that out, though they say that they've reduced the price from $1,300 down to $900 and the other one from $1,100 down to $900. No doubt they're cutting their price due to competition. But let's click on their flagship product and have a look here. And it's normal to see older products significantly reduced in price, but not for their flagship product. It makes you wonder what's going on, if they're worried about something. So when I see stuff like that, it does make me think. And here it is, the J7 Plus Combo Edition. And we could see that mop that flips up to the top here. We'll see later also a problem with this design. And if we look at the dock, this type of dock serves the vacuuming services, but there's no technology here to support any of the features on the mop, very much like the Roomba that I have. iRobot used to be the innovators in this market, and now they're playing catch up. They're advertising the brush that everybody has, the rollers that everybody has right here, that it picks up dirt. This is not amazing features. This is what everybody's doing. And we could see that in order for that mop to flip up, they've had to cut away about half of the surface of the mop in order to accomplish this. And this is not a mop that cleans itself at regular intervals. They still put the charging pads on the bottom where they get nice and dirty. I always have to clean those. And it says here, never lift a finger. Never lift a finger unless you account for having to lift the device, remove the mop pad, clean the mop pad, replace the mop pad, replace all the fluid in the device for the mop, and put it back down onto the charger. Again, they're touting this flip-up mechanism. I see that it loses all that surface area. I could imagine it getting stuck on something. Does a dirty mop bottom come into contact here when it flips up? It makes more sense to raise the mop up into the unit from the bottom. Everything else on this webpage is what everybody else has. They're not talking about a single new innovation like on the Roborock, that the mop has an ultrasonic cleaner built in. I mean, they're listing firmware updates as a main feature. It doesn't sound like they've got a lot to talk about. 3.8 stars, and only 63% of people would recommend it, and that's on their own website. I also saw on their website they're selling their super low-end model as a combo for way too much money, and their old super high-end as a combo for way too much money, and I'm going to demonstrate why those probably shouldn't be purchased today. And we're going to kick off things with a mapping run, starting with the Roborock S8 Pro Ultra. And the reason why I like the mapping run is it takes the vacuum and the mop out of the equation and just demonstrates the device's ability to showcase its sensors and how that allows it to understand the environment around it. Warning us only to open all doors and pick up stuff that doesn't belong on the floor.
Starting mapping.
And as it comes off the dock, the mapping run gets underway. Information gathered is immediately updated to this map, so it's live as it does the mapping run. We could see what it's finding. I'm going to speed things up here. It doesn't touch anything. Not a single thing. I have a border set up here for these tests we're doing. It could still see over that border, though, as we see on the map, mapped around this table just by turning. Making its way back past the dock onto the other side. It's not going past that curtain. It's blocked. Going into the kitchen now.
Mapping complete. Review in app.
And it's done. That's it. 3 minutes. So now it just makes its way back to the dock. That's the end of this exercise. Battery's still at 100%.
Charging.
We'll jump right to the iRobot now. They have a nice app, but not nearly the same amount of features, as we'll see. Again, open doors to clean up obstacles, but make sure there's lights turned on. It needs light in order to function. So it's not using LiDAR. We're going to get it going. And both are very quiet because neither have the vacuum on for the mapping run. Sadly, the iRobot software doesn't do live updates to the mapping run. Here we go. Smack. 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 And that's pretty much the technique for navigation, is that bumper, smacking into things. Did that corner real nice, but boom, smacks into everything again. So it's basically using the bumper to try and ascertain what the perimeter is, smacking into stuff going around the corners. And then it gets to this door right here. And as it gets to the second ledge, it just kind of stops doing the perimeter and decides it's going to go back for whatever reason. I figured it would have continued and gone around in a circle, but no, it did not. Now it's over here and it starts thinking for a while, going back and forth, not really sure what it's doing. It then decides it's going to go do the perimeter in this direction. And then it decides that it isn't. It's going to go off and do something else. Maybe this is part of the algorithm, that this is actually very efficient and I just don't understand. Getting caught under the chairs is a crapshoot because if it turns just right, it'll make its way out, or it could spend several minutes stuck under a chair. But if it's vacuuming and the battery's running doing this, it could wear down half the battery and you could be looking at an extra charge cycle for a cleaning. This time it made its way out. Eventually, after 19 minutes, the light started shining blue, returning home, and we could assume that meant that the mapping was completed. The vacuum does turn on right before it docks as probably some sort of opportunity to clean the actual dock itself, which isn't a bad idea. We'll look at the Roborock first, and I've added the no-go zones here. Those are me, but some really nice detail. It doesn't really figure out from all the areas I blocked off what room is what. So some of the rooms are lobbed together. It could also see outside into areas that were blocked off because of the LiDAR. The iRobot map has kind of an Atari-esque feel to it. I had to flip it around so it's in the right direction. It shows where home is. There's an icon there. And those are the no-go zones. There's no line. There are boxes. I had to do like a bunch of boxes here. It's the only way I know how to do it for that no-go zone. But that's this map. I'll quickly highlight some cleaning features.
Going to wash the lawn.
The first thing this device does is spin around to fill it up with the cleaning fluid as well as wet the bottom of the mop before it starts the actual cleaning.
Starting to wash the mop.
I sped this up and it makes all sorts of weird and interesting sounds for a couple of minutes before it gets underway.
Mop washed. Resuming cleaning.
So now we start the actual cleaning process, and we do have the live map during the cleaning. This one does set the suction to max whenever it goes over a carpet, as we see here. Watch as it goes around the legs of Lily's food bowl in water. It just touches one leg. We can see the water vibrate just a little bit. Tap right there. Trying to get as close as possible, but not relying on the bumper as the key sensor for the device. Then, of course, there's the obvious benefit of mopping as it vacuums. I could set it to do this in the direction of the tiles. I didn't set it in this test run. Of course, we could see in the kitchen, it's running the long way. It never actually touches the wall. And then it hits 20 minutes of mopping
Going to wash the mop.
and returns to the base to wash the mop mid-cycle, so we're not dragging a dirty mop through the whole process. It'll go right back to that spot after it finishes washing the mop and continue cleaning where it left off. And I could set that time interval for whatever I want.
Starting to wash the mop.
And yes, you're going to pay a premium for that level of automation to have that kind of dock. But we'll let it finish, and we're going to move on to the Roomba. Sadly, again, no live map on the Roomba. We're going to keep the screen on the bottom right because it does capture how much time it is taking. I wanted to show this comparison by Lily's food tray with an overlay between these two devices. And we can see that the Roomba has to bump into everything at every single junction in order to navigate. It's not a problem with the device, it's just where the technology was at that time. Modern devices now, even the cheap ones, can see their way around obstacles. They don't need to feel the way around them. Even the cheapest of vacuums can do that. Where the Roomba really comes into its own is on straightaways, but it still bumps into everything in order to find out where it's going. It really has no concept of where it is in space. And this thing gets caught in an obstacle like a chair where it still has the ability to move a bit, but not a lot, so it won't throw an error, and this thing could entirely drain its battery. I thought at this point the test was coming to an end, but in 32 minutes he blew right past my no-go zone and continued onward, so I'm going to stop it here and send him back. Now he's got the blue light, he's heading back home, and I thought we were done here, but this isn't about bumpers and sensors. There's just something not right. Why can't he get past this little tiny leg? Why can't he figure out to go right instead of left? This goes on for several minutes, and I've seen stuff like this for a couple of years. It's just really quirky. It just takes a real long time to figure out that I could just turn right like he just did and head home. Very strange. I've watched batteries go completely dead trying to get home, stuck in some room somewhere because of that. I think that would have been fixed in software. But yeah, we're done with this evaluation. You might think I'm being tough on the Roomba, but if they're still selling this today, people need to know what they're buying. Especially if they're equal to or lower end models than the one I'm displaying. Let's look at the stats. It was a small cordoned off area. The S8 did it in 26 minutes and the iRobot did it in 32. That also includes 2 several-minute mop washings for the S8, one at the beginning and one just before the end. Speaking of mops, for the iRobot, a separate machine would then have to run once it completes to mop the floor, which adds over 7 hours of daily mopping between cleaning and charging, because it can't get through the entire house on one charge, not even when it was new. And I'm not just talking about the mop, I'm also talking about the iRobot. So with the iRobot, the entire cleaning task could be well over 10 hours between vacuuming and mopping and charging of both devices in between. So here's the S8, 613 square feet, 65 minutes, 59% of the battery left on one charge, and that's vacuumed and mopped. On March 30th, the iRobot only did 470 square feet, but the charging was 1 hour and 54 minutes. 2 hours and 16 minutes of cleaning time, the grand total was 4 hours and 10 minutes for vacuuming. Grab some mop times from the history, 6 hours 53 minutes, 7 hours 40 minutes, 7 hours 19 minutes, 7 hours 14 minutes. You get the point. It takes over 10 hours to mop and vacuum the house. Now, we were only minutes away from getting the S7 Max V Ultra, and we saw the S8 was coming out in another week, and one of the things that we saw was the fact that the S8 came with a built-in dryer, something that you needed to buy separately for the S7. The S7 also has a single roller, where the S8 has dual rollers and some other subtleties. But if we had the S7, we would have not upgraded to the S8. It's only because we got it on the ground floor that we just bought the S8. So as far as full service, you got the S8 Pro Ultra for $15.99, or the S7 Max Ultra for $13.99. And that pretty much concludes that category. In the non-full service vacuum mop combos, Roomba's only offering is the J7 Plus combo at $1,100. Their bundled offer should be avoided. They're probably just trying to get rid of inventory. The S8 without mop cleaning services can be had for $1,000. And the S7 without mop cleaning services for $679. Beyond that, there's just a bunch of sub-$200 no-name devices that can be bought on Amazon. A lot of them I've never heard of. I don't really recommend it. And that concludes this video on the why, the which, and the how much for the robot mop vacuum. I hope you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Helps me out a lot when you do. And hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. When the next video comes out, a link will be posted in the top right corner. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?